I think my most memorable college experience was I was over at a friend's house and we were celebrating some people's birthdays and there was a snowstorm outside. It was probably like 11:30 or midnight when it was like really snowing, but I said, "Y'all, we're going outside, we're having a snowball fight." And then we did. And it was like midnight and we were running around like children, throwing snowballs, covering our friend's car in snow. And honestly, we were all laughing. We were all freezing cold, but it was super fun and one of my favorite parts of college. So my name's Emily. I am a graduating senior and I am a resource team leader in Chi Alpha. I've also been a core group leader and I'm also on the advertising team. I think the biggest shift is how you mentor to a group of core group leaders versus just mentoring to your own core group, because core group leaders have different challenges and are experiencing different things than people you might interact with in core group. So just like learning how to balance that and like not having that much experience core group leading myself was interesting to figure out how to help these girls in the best way that I could. So I chose Ball State because I knew I wanted to do something in the College of Communications, but I wasn't really sure where I was gonna go. Freshman year I started as a journalism major and then I took one reporting class and said, nope, never wanna be a reporter, no thank you. And then I talked to my mom, talked to counselors, and ended up in the advertising program, but Ball State let me have those options without having to like switch schools or go through a whole midlife crisis, but I kind of did the crisis anyway, but like I didn't have to switch schools, so that was super nice. At first, I didn't love Muncie, I'll be honest. Like living near a large metropolitan area, there's a lot of benefits that you just kind of take for granted, like the fact that people ride on trains. I had to explain that to people here and it was really a weird experience. They were like, people ride on trains? And I was like, yeah, where am I? Where did I go? But like, I've plugged in with a local church in Muncie, and I spent a whole summer living in Muncie, like away from campus. And once I started establishing an identity here that wasn't just tied to me being a Ball State student, it was so much more like exciting of a community. I was like, no, there's people here who care about each other, people who care about Jesus, people who care about like making the world a better place. And I was like, all right, Muncie's okay. I always like to remember that my parents went on their first date to go to church together, which is really cliche and corny, but it was cute. Grew up in church, was always really like plugged in, but never really knew what it meant to be following Jesus personally. Because when you are surrounded by a lot of Christians, you kind of just like accept their values as your own values and don't really like question them at all. And then suddenly you're like, wait a minute, what? And so it wasn't until probably middle school, like the 6th grade, where I started recognizing, okay, what does it mean for me to have a personal faith with Jesus and a personal relationship? And that's where I started really dedicating my life to figuring that out and figuring out, wow, Jesus is a super cool person and I get to have a personal relationship with him that's like not anyone else's, it's my own. I look at Jesus relationally a lot more than what I was taught growing up. Not that I was taught bad things growing up, but that my dad especially always looked at Jesus with his head first and always looked at the theology and looked at the words and like, what does this Greek word mean? Which is all super interesting and super cool, but it was always hard for me to plug into that, especially like as a younger kid, like you just don't connect in that way. And so my personal faith is so much more relationally focused of like, no, Jesus cares about me, Emily, as a person. He doesn't care if I know all the right words in the Bible. He doesn't care if I know what this word means in Greek. He cares that I want to spend time with him and he wants to spend time with me. So I don't really know how I found Chi Alpha. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of walked into a service because I was like church shopping, so to speak, with all the Christian ministries. I talked to someone at the table. I don't remember who. I don't remember anything about me starting at Chi Alpha because I kind of just walked in anonymously and stayed anonymous for a bit. But once I decided to really commit to Christian community my second semester freshman year, I happened to talk to Tony at one service and she got my number and she texted me and she continued to text me and she continued to reach out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't just ignore this girl. She's texting me all the time. I have to pay attention. And then I met some of my best friends in the core group, or life group as they were called then. Met some of my best friends in that life group who are still my best friends today, and one of them's my roommate. So like, I just met people who I wanted to have close relationships with, and then we foster those relationships. Other than my faith, I think what most defines me is my ability to connect with people on a really deep level. I really love being a people person, but I don't take that as like a people person like I have to be the person who's in the spotlight. Like, I just love having conversations with people. I'm really bad at it's like being the person to have a casual conversation with. Like I'll take it deep every single moment of the day, and that's very annoying to some people, and that's fine. I have no plans following graduation, but I genuinely don't. Like I don't really know what's gonna happen, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I plan to move back home to outside Chicago as much as I love Muncie, but I'm gonna go home, spend some time with family, and then figure out what my next steps are from there, and wherever God takes me, that's where I'll go. Plug in early to Chi Alpha, like find the people who are you want to do life with and plug in, because I really didn't commit to community in college until sophomore year, and like if I had committed earlier, like I would just have even deeper relationships now, which would be so amazing. No, I have no other thoughts, that's all.